Have you ever watched an anime scene and felt something inside you just shatter? Not from sadness, from pure euphoria, like your heart forgot for a second how to beat. That's exactly what happens to anyone who watches Luffy Gear 5 against Kaidou for the first time. And what's most impressive about all of it? It's not the animation, it's not the music, it's what this fight represents. It's the weight of 25 years of story compressed into minutes of screen time that still, in 2026, remain the highest standard of what anime can deliver. Let me tell you how we got here. Think about this with me. Kaidou is introduced to the world as the strongest living creature on the planet. That's not fan hyperbole. That's what the world of the story itself says about him. A man who tried to kill himself countless times and couldn't. A creature who turned into a dragon, destroyed entire armies, and ruled Wano with the brutality of someone who knows nobody can touch him. When the characters in the One Piece universe tremble just at the sound of his name, you, as a viewer, spend years building up anxiety about what it would take to bring him down. And then Oda does what nobody expected. He doesn't answer with power, he answers with joy. Gear 5 isn't a transformation born from rage. It's not the scream of a hero pushed to the edge. It's laughter. It's pure chaos. It's Luffy becoming a force of nature that doesn't even obey its own laws of physics, stretching the ground like rubber, using the enemy's head as a hammer, literally laughing while being destroyed. And that dismantles everything, because we were used to anime battles that follow a clear grammar. The hero suffers, builds up anger, explodes with power, wins. Oda threw that entire grammar out the window. Here, the hero doesn't win in spite of suffering. He wins because he turned suffering into a game. And Toei understood that. God Toei understood that. The choice to animate Gear 5 with that 1950s cartoon aesthetic, the white eyes, the exaggerated movements pulled straight out of a Hanna-Barbera drawing, was a decision that still divides opinions today. Some people looked at it and thought it was too weird, but those who got the idea were left completely floored, because what they did was visually translate the central concept of the transformation. Gear 5 isn't just a stronger form, it's the manifestation of Luffy's very spirit. It's freedom, it's chaos, it's life without rules, and animating it like a classic cartoon was a way of telling the world this isn't a conventional fight, this is something else entirely. But you know what elevates this sequence even further? It's Kaidou. We sometimes forget to give him credit in this fight, because he's not just an obstacle, he's an argument. Kaidou represents the philosophy of absolute power, the idea that strength is the only truth in the world, that ideals are a luxury for those who haven't been crushed hard enough yet by reality. He spent his entire life proving that point, and every time Luffy gets back up after being knocked down, every time that laugh echoes through the air, it's a crack forming in that philosophy. The moment Luffy grabs a bolt of lightning with his hand and stretches it like taffy, Kaidou stops. For 1 second, the strongest living being in the world stops, and in that instant, you realize what's being destroyed isn't his body, it's his belief. That is narrative. That is storytelling at the highest level. And the fact that this fight aired in 2024 and has lived in the collective memory all the way through 2026 says something very important about how the anime audience has changed. We're no longer just looking for beautiful animation. We want to feel something. We want a fight scene to tell us something about life. And this fight says a lot. It says that the freest person in the world isn't the strongest one. It's the one who isn't afraid to look ridiculous. It says there are forms of resistance that power simply cannot process. You can beat someone who's angry. You can destroy someone who's afraid. But what do you do with someone who laughs? It says joy is a weapon. Look, I know some people will argue whether this is technically the best fight in anime history. There are those who will go to bat for Goku versus Frieza, Naruto versus Pain, Ichigo versus Aizen. Those are legitimate arguments. Each of those battles carries historical weight, emotional significance, undeniable value within their own stories. But what Luffy Gear 5 versus Kaidou did was different. It combined technique and philosophy at a moment when the medium of anime itself needed that push. In 2024, after years of safer, more predictable productions, calculated budgets, minimized risks, Toei bet big. They put in money, creativity, and courage into a sequence that could have looked silly, that could have pushed away viewers who didn't get the concept, and they delivered something that still circulates through analyses, compilations, and discussions on Reddit, Twitter, and YouTube as if it dropped yesterday. That's not an accident, that's craft. And there's one detail hardly anyone talks about: the silence before the laugh. There's a moment in the sequence where Luffy falls. He's completely destroyed. Kaidou looks down with the certainty of someone who just confirmed their life's thesis, and for a few seconds, the world goes quiet. The score disappears, the animation slows down, and you, on the other side of the screen, hold your breath because you have no idea what's coming. And then comes the laugh. That absurd, warm, carefree laugh that has nothing heroic about it in the classical sense, but has everything human about it in the deepest sense. The laugh of someone who refuses to accept the narrative imposed on them. The laugh of someone who decided they're going to play the game their own way. How many times in your life have you needed a laugh like that? Not the laugh of someone who's doing fine, the laugh of someone who chose not to fold. That scene isn't just anime, it's a mirror. And that's why 2 years after its peak airing, this fight is still the standard. Not because nobody tried to top it, because very few things arrived with that much intention, that much clarity about what they wanted to say, that much respect for the viewer. One Piece is 25 years old. Luffy has been in our lives for a long time. We grew up with him or came into the journey later and pulled all-nighters catching up on lost time. And when Gear 5 arrived, it felt like Oda was saying the wait was worth it. Everything you invested in this story, every emotion, every heartbreak, every ounce of patience was for this. To watch a rubber man laugh in the face of the apocalypse and win not through strength, but through freedom. You don't forget that. It stays with you. And when the next great anime moment arrives, when something tries to claim that space in the collective unconscious of fans, the measuring stick will be this. It will be Luffy holding a bolt of lightning and laughing. It will be Kaidou falling not because he lost a fight, but because he lost a debate. So let me leave you with a question, and I want you to really think before you answer. If Luffy's greatest power is the freedom to follow no rules at all, what does that say about the enemies still to come? Those who can't be beaten by strength or by joy, but by something he hasn't yet discovered within himself.